All right, everybody, welcome back to The Move, presented to you each and every day by Patron Tequila. We'll name our Patron of the day here in just a sec. But before I get to that, I'm sitting alongside my longtime co-host, JB Hager, and the best and most loyal and most awesomest teammate of all time, the Starsky to my Hutch, the Gronkowski to my Brady, the Hull to my Oates.
Oh, no.
George Hincapie.
Wow. I appreciate all
Talking about stage 17 from...
Bagnères de Luchon and end up in Saint-Lary-Soulan.
You got that?
No, one more time.
One more time.
I keep forgetting to turn my cans up.
Bagnères de Luchon and end up in Saint-Lary-Soulan.
Saint-Lary-Soulan. 65 kilometers. We were so excited about it. I don't know, guy. There was action. I don't think we should say, because there was, while there was not, maybe not the fireworks that we expected. We can't dismiss it because you see a guy like Chris Froome who, of course, you can never count out Chris Froome, but his tour took a drastic turn today, and I can also reveal. Via my source at Sky that unfortunately for him, not only did he lose time, but on the ride down the mountain, he was pulled off his bike and crashed by a French cop.
That's a bad day there.
That's a bad day. So it's that's the one too. And so
you guys talked earlier in the tour about what none of us think about. You think you just get in a car or something and everything. Those riders have to go back down the mountain and dodge the crowd.
Yeah.
You just never think about that.
Right, and it's often that you get close calls with spectators that don't expect you coming down behind them. They're walking down so they don't see you, but you don't expect that it's a local cop pulls you off the bike because he thinks you're a spectator that's decided to ride down. So.
Yeah, you would hope he didn't get too injured. We lost a guy one year, Paolo Salvadelli, descending one of the mountains of the Tour de France.
Wow!
Obviously, as soon as you get to the top, you weren't there. Believe me. You take your helmet off, as Lance had suggested. He would prefer them not have it on the way up, but he took it off, rolled down the hill, crashed, landed on his head, had to get stitches in his head, and was out of the race.
So are the fans not allowed to ride down?
Apparently,
they're probably supposed to walk down. So a cop sees a guy blazing down the mountain and yanks him off thinking it's a spectator doing what they shouldn't be doing. Is a likely scenario.
Cue all the different scenarios that will play out from here, the different theories.
Yeah. Yeah, he probably had a jacket on, something, not nondescript, so he might have just thought he was a spectator trying to ride down the hill.
Which rock was this cop living under? I mean, how do you not? I mean,
how do you not recognize the guy? Right,
just a nondescript raincoat or wind blocker. I mean, you would still. I would think you'd know it's Chris Froome.
But he might have done that on purpose because of all the booze he's been getting. He doesn't want anybody.
No, so I'm saying, cue the conspiracy theories.
Oh, right. How do I get out of this? I can't imagine what goes through a rider's head. You're probably thinking of all kinds of things as you're laying in a hotel room going, how can I get out of this?
Well, let's just, you know what? Let me just do a little business here before we get to our Patron of the day. I think George and I probably agree on this, but this episode today is brought to you by Helix, your destination for DNA discovery. It's like an app store for DNA testing with over 30 DNA-powered products from companies like National Geographic, DNA Fit, and Lose It. With Helix, insights into your ancestry, health, and wellness are just a DNA test away, including if you will ever be as good-looking as George Hincapie. And once you're sequenced, you can get additional products for as low as $10 and have your results the very same day. The perfect product to begin exploring your genetics is DNA Passport. It's only $49 and looks at over 40 traits, including ancestry, wellness, and diet, and whether or not you'll ever be as good-looking as George Hincapie. Kidding.
It's in the copy points.
I know. I realize
Check out the DNA Passport and other Helix products at helix.com/themove. And during the Tour de France, get 25% off with the code MOVE25 for U.S. listeners only. And viewers, I should add. All right, let's get right to it. So my Patron of the day has to be Nairo Quintana.
I'm going to give you this option before we jump into today.
What?
Do you want to rub it in about how you were right yesterday?
Well, actually, I'll get to that in just a second. One, I'm glad you were supposed to remind me, and you didn't. yesterday, as I named TJ Juskowitz, the director of Ragbide, the patron of the rest day, I spoke about how he was really the only guy that said, hey, you're always welcome here no matter what. And I failed to remember, and bad on me, that the good folks at Smartwool and Mark Sakowitz and their whole team started a ride years ago called the Ride to OR. So they would ride from their headquarters in Steamboat to Salt Lake, which I think they 4 or 5 days. And they too were very early to call and say, we would love to have you. And I failed to remember that, and that's bad on me, and I apologize to the good folks at Smartwool, but and I thank them for being great friends. And yes, I was right. George, I love getting these texts. I think it's the third week. A lot of guys falter in the third week. Clearly, Hincapie's starting to get some fatigue.
He's tired.
He's making the wrong calls. I'm getting it right. I'm getting it right. And Philippe Gilbert was super tucked,
which took him into that corner hot.
And and as we know, Peter Sagan had a very, very bad crash today that nobody seems to find any video of. I wouldn't be surprised if he was super tucking.
I wouldn't be surprised. And interestingly enough, I spoke with Philippe this morning, and we were wondering what he was doing when he attacked the breakaway of 49 guys so early. And he had an intention to try to go for the stage win. He said he did the first climb at 80%. His plan was to go steady, do the second climb at 90%, and then just leave everything on the tank for the last climb. So he wasn't only trying to help Alaphilippe, he was trying to go for the stage win. And the way he rode this Tour de France, I mean, he should have had 1 or 2 wins. I feel like he rode an amazing Tour de France, and it's sad to see him leaving on such a bad note.
By the way, I mean, we named him the Patron yesterday because he got up and finished. He broke his kneecap in the crash.
Finished.
I mean, what must that feel like?
Yeah, his leg is like 3 times, his kneecap, his whole leg is 3 times the size of his other leg right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's a tough mofo right there.
Yep.
Wow. But you were right. It was the super tuck leading into it that
came in hot.
Once we saw the videos going around, there was no recovering.
Yep. But on to today. I mean, hard to argue with Quintana. He was talking big. I don't know if you saw some of his quotes before. He was expecting to have a, quote, awesome day, and he did. And he got a little love from Alejandro Valverde, who was already up the road, so he had help. He rode super strong. This is an interesting climb. This is a climb that the previous record on this climb was held, I guess, as a 3-way tie, as I read online here, between myself, Ivan Basso, and Jan Ulrich. George actually won that stage, not according to Wikipedia, but we all know that he won. And they extended the climb. I've really never heard of this. A traditional finish that was all fine and good. They were like, yeah, let's go pave another 7 kilometers to get it up even higher and harder. And so Quintana broke our record up to the point where the finish used to be, and then he just kept trucking. And special shout out or side shout out to Dan Martin. This guy doesn't give up.
No.
This boy, in some of the attacks, we've talked about it, like, okay, what are you doing? But he is on the attack all the time. Super impressive.
Yeah, I would say he's my patron of the day just because he never gives up. He got passed by Quintana very early into the climb and just held him there at 25 seconds the whole way up the climb. Held out the GC guys. Was recovering from a pretty hard crash in the beginning of the week. Lost a bunch of time in the team time trial. I mean, you got to give this guy a AAA for effort throughout this Tour de France.
Dan Martin.
We were
George
also
Hincapie's patron of the day.
We were also kind of criticizing Movistar on the first climb how they started riding tempo. We were thinking how are they're not going to disrupt Sky's train by riding tempo, but turns out they had 2 plans in mind. One was to win the stage, which you gotta they sent out Valverde up early. So they had a plan, and they accomplished two goals, in my opinion, was to move up in the GC and win the stage. So they rode amazing today.
We have a special guest today, Johan Bruyneel, calling in. He's texting me like, "When are you guys calling?"
How is he sitting by the?
So I guess we should let's patch in Johan Bruyneel, because I actually have questions for Johan today, just on what if anybody thinks the stage was boring because of the domination or the dominance of Team Sky, it really kind of was. But gosh, I don't know what you do.
I'm ringing Johan.
All right.
Let me flip this around.
Get my cans
for
on.
you.
I've seen him plenty of times, so I don't need to see him.
George wants to see him, and I know he didn't want me right in his face.
Hey,
Johan.
There we go.
Hey, Johan. Morning.
Let me record.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Johan.
Good evening.
Yeah, thank you. What?
Yes.
what did just initially here? What did you think of today's stage, just in general, or what were your impressions?
Well, first of all, I can't believe that you didn't know that we went up there.
Johan,
you didn't.
It's old news. I don't sit around. I'm not one of these guys that sits around and reminisces. I really don't give a shit where we went in the past. Okay?
Yeah, but come on. Come on.
You guys went all the way to the top?
No.
No, that's new.
Yeah, that's
new. They did this road 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay, well, give us your impressions about today's stage.
Yeah. Am I live already?
You're live. Of course you're live.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Well, short stage, first of all.
That's going to mute him.
The setup at the start was ridiculous. It was a joke.
Yeah.
We all knew that was going to happen, but it was even worse than I expected. So, it was very predictable. There was attacks in the beginning of the stage, and people who thought that they would get some room. This guy Tanger, what's his name? Tanger.
Yeah.
Tanger looked very strong, but from the moment you saw that Valverde was in the breakaway, and then Soler, who got dropped and started to make tempo, it was clear that they were. They had Movistar today had two goals. They knew very well that they have no chance of getting close in the Tour. So they wanted team classification back, which they got really, really strongly now, and win the stage with Quintana or Landa, which is what they got. So other than that, I think everything else was really predictable. Sky set a tempo. Luc Rowe was very strong. He did the whole first climb by himself, and after that, it was basically. The only suspense that I saw, or what I was waiting for, was who was going to be stronger, Froome or Geraint Thomas. But that was already clear when Roglic attacked and Froome went with him. They didn't go anywhere. And if Froome would have felt really good, he would have tried to counterattack. So yeah, I think it's a logical outcome of the stage, and in my opinion, it's clear that Geraint Thomas is going to win the Tour, and very well deserved, I would say.
Wow. See, I'm not prepared to say that. I was saying it as I watched, but I Johan, you know this better than anybody. There's always, some of these guys, not everybody, but a lot of these guys, there's always that bad day. And so there's still, tomorrow's uneventful, but there's, the day after is a very, very hard day. I think he looks great, but I'm a little, I don't know, my spidey sense says, hang on.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen. He hasn't shown any signs of weaknesses at all. He's been very solid, made no mistakes, stayed out of trouble the first week, and every time he had a chance. If you look today, there's 3 times where he at the end of the stage, you almost don't see anybody who has a really sharp shot at the end, and he has shown it 3 times now. So I don't see any weaknesses, and it's clear for him now and for the team who's the leader of the team. That's for sure. So the only Roglic looks better and better, but I think personally that his team, they don't believe what they're seeing. They have 2 guys up there in the last 5 or 6, so
right. They're
very happy with that. And Dumoulin is strong, but he has the right tempo, and as long even if Thomas would have a bad day, I think his tempo, the tempo that he can ride on the last climb and in the stage after tomorrow, would have to be good enough to limit the losses and do a good downhill, and there's still the time trial, so he has a good cushion now on.
I don't know. Johan, if you look at the stage 2 days from now, and you have the Tourmalet, which we all know is a very, very hard climb, George's least favorite climb of all time. That's a long ways. I'm just theorizing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to make this exciting, but it's a long. If he gets popped there, well, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but if he did, I don't think you come back. But
No, that's true. That's true. I mean, he would have to have a really bad day, though, because, honestly, nobody of the favorites can have the luxury to attack there. Let's say anybody who attacks there, puts his own chances in danger of having a good result. So, as I said before, the average speed of the Sky train is really uncomfortable for the biggest part of the peloton, and I don't see any weaknesses in Geraint Thomas. A bad day can always happen, but I think that's the only thing that they can think that they can hope for, his rivals, which now are down to basically Dumoulin, and Roglic is going to try to get on the podium. That's his goal.
Johan, do you think Froome will have a bit freer card now that maybe he can say he wants to get the second place, and that may not look as bad if he attacks now in 2 days from now, as opposed to being second and attacking?
I don't know. I mean, if it's me who's in charge of the team, then Froome there's no way I would let him attack.
Yeah.
No way.
No.
Yes, there's one strong leader, that's Geraint Thomas, and Froome has shown that he's not as strong, so he has to be at his service. I would not let him attack at all. That can only bring bad things.
Yeah.
If there's one person that can attack is the leader himself. I mean, he doesn't have to. But no, I think an attack of Froome would be very stupid from Team Sky.
I think one of you guys.
I don't think he does it, but I would never do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of you guys brought it up that in the court of public opinion, Froome could do himself a service if he announced that Geraint's the guy and clearly shows that he's going to work for him. And
it's not going to. He's not going to go from unpopular to popular just because he's a super domestique. But that would be a good visual for him. I think. That would endear him to some people that he's conceded his chances, especially if Geraint Thomas gets in trouble. That would look, the optics on that would be super badass. Yeah. I think
it'd be exciting to watch. Do you think these guys can remain on the same team next year?
Yeah, great question.
Well, I don't know what the contract situation is. Froome is signed up, I think, but Geraint Thomas is probably not signed up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It'd just be interesting. I would think not. I would think they wouldn't want to be on the same team next year.
I don't know. Sky will definitely make a big effort to keep Geraint Thomas. In my opinion, they consider him a lot more British than Froome.
Yeah.
So that's going to have a big...
I wonder if they knight him if he wins. It's interesting because Brailsford gets knighted, Bradley Wiggins gets knighted, Chris Froome wins 4. No, you're not getting knighted.
That makes no sense.
They think, he was born and basically raised in Kenya.
Yeah.
I think he was born in Kenya, but so
right.
they view him more as an African than they do as a Brit. But
Well, the knighthood of Brailsford and Wiggins was for the combination of Tour de France and the Olympic Games in London.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go while we have Johan on, did anyone pick Geraint Thomas to win that you know of? It seems like no one picked this guy.
I wouldn't have picked him. I was very confident in Froome. But if you look back now and you see how dominant he already was in the Dauphiné, somebody would probably have picked him. People who were at the Dauphiné and saw how strong he was, somebody will have picked him.
Yeah.
Sure.
And how much do you think of that? How much do you think the Giro effort is affecting Froome right now? Is that making all the difference? Do you think?
I think it does. In my opinion, it does.
I agree.
Plus, all the added stress that he had to go through the last months. You can be strong and as cool as you want, but those things have an impact. As relaxed, you don't rest as good.
Yeah.
I think you can maintain the basic condition, but the punch, you can see it. You can also see it with Dumoulin. Dumoulin is, he's on a really, really high level, but the punch that acceleration that Thomas has, Froome and Dumoulin don't have that right now. And no, for sure. I mean, it's already impressive, in my opinion, that both Froome and Dumoulin are up there at the highest level after having given 100% of the Giro.
Yeah.
No, it's not like they did the Giro in preparation for the Tour. You know, they both rode it very, very strongly. You know, gave everything. Yes, there was a week more in between the Giro and the Tour, but still, you know, I mean, having two big peaks like that. It's quite impressive, actually, to see.
Agreed. Johan, last question is a very serious question.
Okay.
What is your opinion of the Super Tuck?
It's dangerous, but it's fast, and you know, people. I mean, I don't know. I saw today, or I heard that Sagan crashed. So it would be interesting to see if he was doing that just before or while he crashed or not. But you know, and I heard on Spanish TV, for example, they were having a debate of whether actually Dan Martin or something
tweeted about it. Yeah.
That's not going to happen. You can't.
That would be tough to ban.
But it is dangerous. It's something that probably. I mean, you know, you get to speeds that these guys are not used to, and what you see is a wrong calculation of the corners. You know, I don't know. I mean, I heard you guys debate about it yesterday about Gilbert.
Well, your whole balance is off. I agree. Somebody wrote in though, Johan, which I think is actually kind of interesting, and I'm trying to get Lance to get on one of these. We've been mountain biking a bunch here, and I've been on a dropper post now for like 3 days, and it is unbelievable how much better it is descending. So I'm wondering, this could be crazy if they throw dropper posts on these road bikes for the descents, because then they're on the saddle, and then their position isn't that much different. They got a much lower sense of their weight distribution is much better. Could be safer. I don't know. That was a good point. Somebody
was the stage this boring? Are we really talking about dropper posts on road bikes in the Tour de France? This is a bunch of bullshit. We got it. Johan, thanks for calling. Can you call in again? Were you headed out for some fancy vacation in the next few days?
No. I'm here. I'm happy to call again.
Okay, awesome. Well,
Thanks, Johan.
Tomorrow's boring, but maybe the day after. It'd be great to.
Johan, tomorrow does UAE and FDJ France de Joux work together for the sprint, or you think they're all just too dead?
I think tomorrow. No.
Breakaway makes it.
I mean, Française de Jeu for who?
Demar, he's still in, right?
Demare.
Yeah, but it's hilly.
Well,
it's not that hilly.
It's not that bad.
Well, you know, and I was going to save this. I was going to save this for when Johan got off the phone, but since we're talking about it, and then we'll let you go. I'm just seeing a tweet here from Andre Greipel. You get a load of this tweet. If this shit don't have some flames on it, I don't know what does. Andre Greipel says, maybe somebody should tell FDJ and Arnaud Demare that there is GPS tracking in Le Tour. Chapeau to lose just 9 minutes on a 17-kilometer climb to Nairo Quintana. Hashtag not the first time.
Well, we mentioned that.
Oh.
He only lost 29 minutes, and he was dropped the first guy on the climb. So basically, there was 3 huge climbs. He lost less than 8 minutes of climb.
This is just, Johan, I want to get your take on it, but for me, this is total bullshit. I mean, just holding on to a car on the way up so that you can make the time cut in order to potentially win tomorrow or win in Paris. I mean, come on, guys.
I think eyes are on Paris, because usually in Paris, I mean, it happens a lot, and in Paris, it's not the usual suspect sprinter who wins. So I personally think he won't win a stage because I've never seen him in such bad shape. There must be something. He's maybe sick or something because, to get dropped the first guy by himself, I don't think that's normal. But yeah, I was really surprised to see him come in the other day. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday he was dropped very, very early by himself, and he also didn't lose that much time if you consider.
Maybe we should ask Matteo about exactly what happened and what his opinion is on all that.
No, you got to police the back of the field the same you police the front. This is come on, and I don't care if you're the French national champion or the hero or your one hope to win in Paris. Come on, Come on, this is a joke.
The answer of Mathieu will be, I say, Arnaud, il a la panache.
La panache. Yeah. Okay. All right, buddy. Well, we'll call you in a couple days when we get some action. Potentially somebody having a bad day, but have fun over there, man. Hey, one more thing. Hey, don't forget, when the soup is goed, alles goed.
Alles goed.
Alles goed. Okay. Thanks, Johan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye.
Boy, how about that tweet from Andre Greipel? That got some attention.
A heated one.
I'm seeing it here. Everybody's retweeting this. Maybe we should retweet it. Yeah.
I got to ask, because you brought it up, why is the Tourmalet George's least favorite?
You just always, this is the way he always talks about it. Like it's,
It's just
You just threw that out so quickly.
It's long,
It's
it
long,
just drags, and then it's straight.
Yeah, straight.
Very
and steep.
straight. So you see, you're like, oh, that's what I have left. Like it's just
You'd rather not
and
see what's
also,
ahead of you.
and I always believed, and maybe I'm wrong, but I always believed that switchbacks offered some brief moment of relief, just because they have to. I mean, that's the reason that they switch back up a road, because the mountain is so steep, and the only way to get the road up there is to keep it turning like that. So, when the road is straight, it's just totally relentless. I mean, that's why Ventoux is so hard. There's just no switchbacks.
Yeah, and the lead into the Tourmalet is slightly uphill, usually very hard. So even before you get to the climb, you've actually been going full gas just to get to the bottom, and then you hit the super steep slopes. It's just relentless, super hard climb, in my opinion.
A lot of people are asking on emails, and this is purely for the Americans, I guess, so forgive us, but they really want a basis of comparison to some of the mountains they're familiar with here versus Alps and Pyrenees.
It's interesting because it's we were sitting watching the race today with our local sheriff, Joe DeSalvo, who comes over most mornings, but he was asking, how high are these? Because if you see them, we're sitting at 8,000 feet. If you went and rode Independence Pass, you'd be at 12,400. So most people just assume that's how high these guys are going, when in fact they're not. The Alps and the Pyrenees top out at 7,500. I think the Glibier is maybe higher.
One of the highest.
But they, today the final climb, they started at 2,500 feet. So that's basically sea level. And they just don't get that high. So altitude, right? So a guy like Nairo Quintana, who grows up at 8 or 9 or 10,000 feet, yes, he's, maybe the last 15 minutes he's at home, but for the most part, there's not an adaptation that has to go on for any of these guys.
No, the vertical is quite similar, but the amount of oxygen is a lot greater there than here. That's for sure.
Let's do a little business right quick before we get into a few other things and let y'all go. But this show is also brought to you by High Brew Coffee, our good friends from Austin, Texas. This can only has 20 calories, by the way. Thank goodness, because I think I've been putting some on, partying with George. But 6 different flavors, 2 cups of coffee per can. Cold brew for those who do. I love that. You can get it at Amazon, Whole Foods, Walmart. If you do go to Amazon and order it to deliver at your house, type in the coupon code 20THEMOVE, all one word, and all caps as well. Cold brew for those who do.
One of the things you guys were talking about as you were watching the stage today is that team domination by Sky makes it uneventful. Yet you were the guys that did exactly that.
Well, we get to we
So now with the spectator view, what's your thought on it? Clearly, it was different.
I'm curious if like Walter Pools, who had a hell of a ride today, was at any point was like, we're being mean. We have 4 guys out of 9. We should, Chris, I'm gonna sit up.
Really?
Being mean to people.
That was like 2 weeks ago.
I know, but I still like it. I like doing the voice.
Which, by the way, speaking of being mean, homie over here tells me, better be at my house for the start. 7:12 a.m. It starts at 7:15. I get to his house. Thank God the front door was open. Crickets. Not one person, not one soul in the house was awake. So I just made myself a coffee and watched the start by myself.
We went over
very
to
much.
the house that George and Melanie and his family are staying at, and somebody just, I don't know, somebody spiked my drink or something. It was
bad ice.
Woo.
That's bad ice.
George touched on this a second ago, and I just got a text with this tweet from our good friend Chad Mountain. Check out, and I hope we can show this for the viewers. Look at the leg on Gilbert compared to the.
No.
God.
I mean, that is just. Can we see that back in the Dave? Can we see that? Anyways,
oh my gosh.
I know this is on
Looks
Philippe
like two
Gilbert's.
different
This is on
humans.
his account, so he posted it. That's disgusting. And to think this guy got up and finished the stage. That's what a baller.
He couldn't even walk out of the medical tent. I mean, he was just completely, leg was just locked down, but he still rode to the finish line, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. We're still trying to find out what happened to Sagan. I don't know if you're still scouting that, but it made it sound like he needs to go. I saw some posts that he was trying to finish the stage and get to the hospital and get checked out, but it looked pretty bad. As you pointed out, Lance, when the back of your jersey is shredded, things didn't go well.
Yeah, well, there was the clip of him finally getting to the finish line and getting to the podium to get his green jersey. Went in the back of the jersey. It looked like it went through a meat grinder. You gotta hit the ground fast and hard to get the back of your jersey wrecked. I mean, and
there was no reason for him to take a risk, so it's kind of a big mistake on his part.
Yeah, elaborate on that because I know.
Well, he's in the green jersey. I mean, he was obviously climbing really well with the first group, with 5K to go to the top of the first climb. So clearly he could have just sat up and rode in easy. I don't know why, but he was trying to come back to the first group apparently and slid out in the turn and crashed.
He has the green jersey. It's over. There's no contesting the green jersey anymore based on the math. How many points are available between now and Paris? It's locked up. So I don't know why would you want to go so hard to stay with a group of 20 on a day like this? And then, of course, we don't know what happened in the crash. But why? Don't take any risk. I mean, even if it's locked up mathematically, obviously, as we all know, he still has to ride.
You have to
Paris.
finish.
Yeah.
The only reason I would see is he must have been on clearly a really good day. He probably had the leaders in sight. If he was able to catch them, and obviously stay with them on the downhill, that's not extra work. He was probably thinking the harder he goes there, the easier he can go on the last climb, and really just take it as easy as possible. So perhaps that's what he was thinking, and it was an unfortunate outcome for him.
Yep.
I know Georgie wanted to give some love to Ian Boswell.
Yeah, we were watching yesterday's, but nobody really mentioned how good he was going yesterday on the final climb up Port de Leon. For being a young rider, an American, riding in the front of the group on the third week of the Tour de France is super impressive.
His first tour.
Chapeau to Ian. He did a great job.
And thanks to Ian for letting us talk to him, or not letting us, but letting part of our team talk to him with Breakfast with Boswell every day. Nice little added bonus for the listener.
Yeah, and talk about another young guy. It looked like with that Sky Train and Bruyneel finishing it off again. He finished with Froome and looked like he was in good shape.
Oh yeah, he's really come around. Third week of the tour, first Tour de France, 21 years old. We're going to be seeing a lot of him in the future.
Yeah, I have an interesting little subplot playing out here that I want to talk about in just a second. Before we get to that, let's talk about PowerDot. I talk about it every day. George has been complaining that he's getting banged up, so he's been trying to steal my PowerDot. But any kind of injury, tendonitis, this thing is so customizable, adaptable, portable. I love it so much. I say it every day. I don't know if this is an endorsement or a disclaimer, but I've invested in the company. I love it that much. They are giving away 1 unit per day to our listeners. Go to powerdot.com/themove. Sign up to win one. Otherwise, if you want to buy one, which I get a bunch of texts from people that have, and they're like, this better work. Go to powerdot.com/themove and get 25% off to our listeners. So here is what I just want to watch this. Okay, I've talked about earlier about just the unfortunate flat tires / penalty for Tom Dumoulin. That is going to change the texture of this race. As he's 159 down. Geraint Thomas is just looking too good right now. But check out this fight. It's a big deal to finish on the podium. You have Chris Froome 231 down and Primož Roglič 247, 16 seconds behind him. This might be the most interesting race to follow. I mean, I don't know if Chris Froome probably doesn't care if he gets third or fourth, but Roglič, he absolutely cares. So
that's why I think
he's a great time trialist.
That's why I think it makes him dangerous on Friday, because he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't care if he gets second, third, or fourth, and so he might just put it all on the line and see what he can do.
You guys were debating in the pre-show, breakaway tomorrow or not?
Johan said no, so I'm going with Johan. Johan said yes, that a break would go away, and I think I don't think we're done here in the last of what Andre Greipel tweeted out there about Arnaud Demare or whatever his name is, clearly holding on to a car.
So I agree.
And when he says hashtag not the first time, right? This happened allegedly.
I mean, if you're losing,
an idiot put his Milan San Remo. This is the same guy, right? That put his Milan San Remo on Strava, and his time up the Cipressa was unbelievable.
Impossible.
So
it was clearly
for him,
towed.
it was impossible.
Yeah,
Not impossible,
yeah.
but
So my thoughts are, if Demare is in fact in, obviously Christoph is still there. Tomorrow's a slightly downhill start. It could be relatively easier to control for sprinter teams, even if they just keep them at a couple minutes. The breakaway is clearly going to go from the gun, but I think there's a chance for a field sprint tomorrow. I would think they're running out of chances to win stages, and they're going to put all their guys to work, even though everybody's completely dead. But that means the breakaway will be dead, and so will the guys working together behind. I think they'll work together for a sprint. Still no rain. It's amazing that this peloton hasn't been rained on. They haven't put a raincoat on this entire tour. That's pretty amazing. Yep. That's unheard of, actually.
And yet a lot of them are still pretty banged up.
Yeah. We have any questions before George and I? We're not riding today. We're going to go with our families. They've already started the hike up Ajax, so we're going to try to go catch them. George, trying to wimp out, wants to take the gondola.
Might take the gondola.
No, you're not. Are you kidding? I will never speak to you again.
And put it on Strava.
Fired.
Put it on Strava.
You'll be fired.
How are we going to close the 40-minute
Lance
gap?
and JB.
Lance, I met you at Steve Head's funeral and was really impressed that you made the trip to Minnesota. I'd like to know what changes Lance and George would make to the UCI if you were put in charge. Maybe a couple of things. That's from Tom.
We need like 10 shows.
I know. Pick one.
Well, first of all, Steve Head was an amazing man. He was one of my very, very first sponsors. Long time ago. I was 15 years old when he called me up and wanted to help me out. As an aside, I just ran into Annie Head at Ragbri 2 days ago. It was so great to see her and her family. She's now running the business. And for people that thought, oh my God, Steve's passed, what's to come for Head Wheels, she is crushing.
Yep.
And you did a great interview with her on the forward.
She was on the forward.
That's worth listening to.
She's an amazing lady. Steve was an amazing guy. Super tragic loss. Totally unexpected. But what would I do? I'll just go back to what I always say. I mean, I don't think we need to be. I don't think the sport of cycling needs to have anything to do with the Olympic movement. I think that the IOC and all their little franchises around the world, we don't need to be any part of that. We need to be a legit standalone professional sport like F1 or like a major American sport, and get them out of our lives and proceed from there. There's a lot of other things that I could continue to, and I'm not trying to say that because of its association with any of the anti-doping groups. I think the sport of cycling, as it were to stand alone, as its own league, as its own sport, should still police that seriously. There should still be whereabouts. There should still be a shit ton of testing. There should still be a lot of research into this. That is a legitimate thing. But we don't need to play their game. That's first and foremost. Secondly, a strong riders union. And again, I've been there many times on this. These boys that we watch every day and night are the actors in this play, and they don't get any of the proceeds of the play.
Yeah, I was going to mention that there are some rider unions forming. They have had some small successes, weather protocols, but bottom line is they need a seat at the table and have as much say as the people running the
What we
sport.
got now is window dressing.
Yeah.
We don't have nothing effective. And weather protocol, come on.
I said small successes. We need a seat at the table.
That's like issue number 200.
They need a seat at the table.
That's issue 200.
Agreed.
So hypothetically, they might have a seat at the table on planning the tour route.
Any issues?
Any route.
Any route.
Every route.
And
How revenue is shared amongst the teams, and that's a UCI is very well off.
It's
and
crazy
the teams
for riders
are struggling,
especially the Tour of Italy, which is well known to have just hairy finishes. It's insanity that the riders are after the fact going, this is terrible, this is a disgrace, this is an outrage, we can't have this. Guys, what is an outrage is that you are not enforcing your star power and having a seat at the table, because we should be there and like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing that either. No, not that either. That's what needs to happen.
Hi, Lance. I'm a Portuguese fan. of the Move Podcast. and
Obrigado.
all things that you do also. I would like to ask your opinion of a former world cyclist, what the teams have to do to beat Sky since they are so dominant in the race. What strategy would you advise for the team director or other teams to win against Sky? That's from Francisco.
It's a good question, and but there's no answer.
No.
I mean, I would have asked Johan that question, but I know there is no answer. When you have 4 guys out of 9, what are you going to do? You're going to throw in some TV attacks to make everybody feel good and act like we did what we tried. We tried. No, you just there is nothing you can do. And I want George. I even started to crab a little sideways on this salary cap thing as we were watching. I'm like, because I'm watching and going, all right, this is boring. But I don't know that would solve the problem there. I don't think a guy like Walter Pools is making a shit ton of money.
Yeah, as a person who's been in the situation on both sides, where I'm racing against 4 guys from the same team in a very small group, or being on a team with 5 guys with Lance, it's just there's not much you can do against a powerful team. Even if you get a small gap and get away, there's strength in numbers back there always, and they can always claw you back.
Let's see. This I'm glad this was written in because we didn't address it earlier, talking about today's stage. Mike writes, I've been anticipating this stage since the route was announced. The gridded start just happened. Seemed like a whole lot to make about nothing. So Am I wrong?
You want me to answer that since homie was sleeping?
That's Mike in Pennsylvania. Hey, you were up watching
Lance
this.
was still in bed. I was in his house. I broke into his house, worried about the sheriff coming to arrest me and all that. But it was very uneventful. I mean, it was almost comical. There was a lot made about this grid start, but we all knew from the beginning that it was kind of gimmicky, and it turned out to be very gimmicky.
Yeah, they'll never do it again.
This question's...
I mean, I guess if you want to space them out like a mile between each one.
Or space them out in the time they have in the overall, that could be interesting.
That's
called a time trial.
Yeah, this is questions geared for George, and then we'll wrap this up, and we've got to talk about the contest before we go, because tomorrow's a big day. So, George, you rode for 3 different tour winners. Was there any difference doing that for different teams or riders? And this part I thought was great. Which is harder, riding for a GC contender or working to organize a lead-out train for a sprinter? That's from Jerry.
Well, it's a pretty in-depth question. So my role with Lance was a lot different than my roles with Contador and Cadel. With Lance, Johan was the clear decision maker, made the tactics on the road. Although later on, as he started winning more tours, I would have a bit more say, but still he was the clear boss. With Contador, we kind of fell into that position with like 3 days to go, although I helped him a ton in the wind and the crosswind sections. And ironically enough, the year Contador won, I waited for him on the top of the Perry Sword with Cadel just 5 seconds off the back of Contador and Rasmussen, and I bombed a descent. And we put like 40 seconds or something on Cadel, and Contador ended up winning that Tour de France by like 25 seconds. And then a few years later, I helped Cadel win the Tour de France, which is kind of funny that I was able to help both those guys. But on BMC with Cadel, I had a lot more say. I was a lot more involved in the tactics and the decisions on the road. And that just comes with experience, being around for a long time and knowing a lot of the riders. In terms of the sprint stages, that's also very complicated, very high pressure, and very dangerous. When I was working for Cav, I'd always say to them, look, guys, I don't want to see you from 5K to 2K because you guys are crazy. I'd prefer to get up there on my own and just meet you guys with about 2 kilometers to go, where I can just go to the front and get out of the way. But the hardcore sprinters, man, the gaps they go through and the risks they take was not very appealing to me. So I'd always end up finding them right when we needed to be together.
All right, big announcement tomorrow.
Yep. The contest is closed, so we have all the entries are in for the move in, and I suppose we'll be reading a lot today, and we'll pick one and announce our winner tomorrow. Tell you all where we're going. George 50-50, just FYI, because he's
he's got places to be.
Come on, Greenville, get me home. That'd be nice.
Greenville, Jackson Hole.
I know. I do got to go to Jackson Hole too.
No, so but I'm excited about this, and it's so I'm just so you all know and know that I appreciate this. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to get on the plane and go. But these guys, JB, Dave, and Eddie, who are sitting in the back, who nobody ever sees, has to pack up all this stuff and get it mobile so we can go to
We'll
somebody's
get it
house.
done.
So hopefully,
We'll get it done.
don't forget the mics.
We'll make it happen.
All right, man, I'm just here to play bass and help with the beep.
Any questions or comments for tomorrow's show, please send them to themove@wedo.team.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.